The farmhouse at the edge of Marlow Ridge was a place people avoided after dusk. Its shutters clung by rusted hinges. The roof bowed under years of neglect, and rumors of the wind there didn't sound like wind at all. Deputies treated calls about it as little more than pranks, until Sheriff Harlan Briggs finally sent Deputy Claire Dalton and her K-9 Boone to investigate. No one expected much. A trespasser, maybe, rats in the walls. But when Boone froze at the attic stairs and pressed his snout to the boards, silence swallowed the air. The drive up the ridge felt longer than it should have. Claire's cruiser bumped along the gravel track, headlights cutting pale cones through the fog. Boone sat upright in the back, alert, ears twitching at every grind of stone under the tires. "Don't get spooked, boy," Claire muttered, though she was talking to herself as much as him. The house had that effect, looming out of the fog like it had been waiting for her. Sheriff Briggs had sounded irritated when he handed her the call. Noise complaints. Third night this week. Neighbors swear someone's been moving around inside. Could be squatters. Could be kids. Take Boone, check it out, and don't make production of it. Which meant, handle it quietly. Don't write it up unless you have to. That was Briggs. Always careful about what made it into the record, especially with old property like this. The farmhouse loomed into view, black windows staring out across the fields. A porch sagged like a mouth missing teeth. The fog thickened, hugging the ground, muting every sound. Claire killed the engine, and for a moment, the world held its breath. Boone whined softly when she opened the door. "Yeah," she said, scratching the fur between his ears. "I don't like it either." Inside, the air was stale with mildew and mouse droppings. Dust floated in the beam of her flashlight. The living room was stripped bare. No furniture, only water-stained wallpaper curling away from the plaster. Every step creaked like the floorboards had bones. "Sheriff should have sent 2 units," Claire muttered. Boone's nose worked furiously. He tugged her past the kitchen, nails clicking, tail stiff. At the base of the staircase, he froze. A low growl rose in his throat. Claire swept her light upward. The stairs stretched into darkness, each step warped and uneven. A cold draft seeped down from above, carrying the smell of dust and something sharper, like copper. Her radio hissed on her shoulder. She jumped. Briggs's voice came through, crackling. "You on site?" "Yeah," she whispered. Her own voice sounded too loud in the stillness. No sign of entry downstairs. Boone's alerting on the stairs. Attic's probably full of raccoons. Clear it and head back. Typical. She considered asking for backup, but Briggs hated that. He'd say she was green, still jumpy from her time in Portland before she came back home. She clicked the radio off. Boone was already moving, paused silent on the stairs. The second floor was worse. Wallpaper shredded by damp, doors hanging open like broken jaws. She checked each room. Empty, only dust and spiderwebs and the occasional rusted bed frame left to rot. Then Boone stopped. He was staring at the ceiling at the end of the hallway, hackles raised. Claire followed his gaze. An attic hatch. The rope hung down like an invitation. Her stomach turned. She didn't want to open it. But Boone's growl deepened, chest vibrating like a warning. "All right, boy." She reached up, tugged. The ladder unfolded with a groan. A dark square yawned above, black as pitch. Claire climbed slowly, Boone close at her heels. The attic was cavernous, beams stretching across like ribs. Dust coated everything. Piles of boxes, old trunks, a rocking chair draped in a sheet. For a moment, she thought Boone had been wrong. Just junk. Then Boone stopped. Head cocked, snout pressed to a far wall. Claire followed. Her flashlight swept across warped boards until it caught something strange, an outline. A rectangle that didn't match the others. A door, but not a normal one. The edges were faint, like someone had tried to plaster over it. Boone scratched at the boards, nails clicking. His breath came fast, fog in the air. Claire crouched, running her fingers along the seams. Cold, too cold for this house. Her throat tightened. Jesus. A hidden door. The wood was warped, but behind it, she swore she heard something. A faint tap. Her blood ran ice cold. "Briggs," she hissed into the radio, struggling to keep her voice steady. "You need to get out here. Now." Static swallowed the reply. The tapping came again. This time it was unmistakable. From the other side of the door. The tapping stopped the second Claire whispered into her radio. She froze, crouched in front of the hidden door, Boone's growl vibrating against her boots. The silence that followed was heavier than sound, like the whole house had gone still, listening. Her heart hammered, so hard it shook her ribs. "Briggs, do you copy?" she said again, louder. Only static. Claire stared at the radio, thumb hovering over the button. It wasn't unusual for signals to cut out this far into the ridge, but something in her gut twisted. This didn't feel like dead air. It felt deliberate. Boone's nails scratched at the boards. "Urgent now." "Easy," Claire whispered, tugging him back by the harness. His ears flattened, eyes wild. He didn't want to leave. The door was small, child-size, built into the far corner beneath the sloping rafters. Whoever had hidden it hadn't meant for it to be found. The plaster lines were uneven, faint ridges where tools had smeared over the edges. Claire reached for the seam with her flashlight. Cold air spilled out from the cracks. The smell carried with it a tang like old pennies, sharp enough to sting the back of her throat. Copper. Blood. Her hands trembled. Jesus. For one insane moment she considered leaving, walking out, sealing the hatch, calling Briggs from the safety of her cruiser. But Boone's growl shifted into a whine, low, pleading. His body was rigid, but his eyes flicked to her like he couldn't let her walk away. She pressed her palm to the seam. Something brushed against the other side, a soft drag, like fingertips. Claire jerked back, bow rising. There's somebody in there. The thought shouldn't have been possible. The house had been abandoned for decades. She checked every downstairs window, no signs of recent entry. But the sound wasn't her imagination. She knew the feel of a human presence, even through wood. Her flashlight beam trembled across the wall. A broken crowbar leaned against a pile of boxes. She snatched it up, wedged it into the seam, and shoved. The plaster cracked with a muffled snap. Boone barked once, sharp and eager. The door gave an inch, then another, until the whole board splintered inward with a scream of wood. A gust of air blasted out, colder than anything in the house. And then the smell hit her full force. Not just copper. Rot. A sweet, cloying decay that punched into her lungs. Claire gagged, yanking her shirt over her nose. Boone snarled, barking into the darkness. Her light cut through the opening. A narrow crawl space stretched behind the false wall. Low ceiling, dirt floor. Shadows clung thick, swallowing the beam. And in the middle of it, a figure, knees drawn to chest, head slumped forward. For a heartbeat Claire thought alive. The posture was too human, too recent. "Sheriff," she gasped into radio. "We've got... someone's here. I repeat, someone's." The figure twitched. Claire stumbled back, crowbar raised. Boone lunged, harness straining. But the movement wasn't human. Not quite. The head lolled, jaw slack. What remained of the skin was parchment thin, stretched over bone. Eye sockets gape hollow. A corpse, and not a fresh one. The body had been here years. Decades. Still, the way it sat upright, arms looped tight around its own shins, looked like someone had placed it there gently, like a child tucking a doll to sleep. Claire's knees threatened to give. She forced herself closer, beam steady. The body wore tatters of fabric. A nightgown, maybe, or something once pale blue. The feet were bare, toes curled into the dirt. Her voice broke into the radio. "Sheriff, there's a body. Female. Approximate. God, I don't even know. Long deceased." Nothing. Static swallowed her words. Boone barked again, not at the corpse, but deeper into the crawl space. His nose pressed toward the far wall. Claire followed his gaze. Another seam. Another door. Her skin prickled ice cold. "Christ almighty," she whispered. The crawl space wasn't a tomb. It was a passage. And Boone knew it. His whole body shook with urgency, tail rigid, ears pinned. Claire's pulse roared in her ears. This was beyond her. She should seal it mark the scene, wait for backup. But Briggs's silence gnawed at her. He should have checked him by now. Why hadn't he? Her flashlight skimmed the corpse again, and she froze. Carved into plaster above the body, faint but legible in the beam, were words. Keep quiet or he hears. Her blood chilled. Boone whimpered. The second door shifted. Just slightly. A hairline movement. Like something had pressed against it from the other side. Claire staggered back. Crowbar clattering to the floor. The sound came next. Not a tap, not a knock. A drag. Fingernails raking slow and deliberate across the boards. She grabbed Boone's harness, hauling him toward the attic ladder. He resisted, barking frantically, but she dragged him down, heart in her throat. They hit the second-floor hallway, her flashlight beam darting wild across the peeling wallpaper. Her radio hissed suddenly, alive again. Dalton. Briggs's voice sharp-clipped. Report. She fumbled a button, voice cracking. Hidden crawl space in the attic. There's a body, female, long deceased. Sheriff, there's more. There's something. The line cut dead silent. She stared at the radio like it had betrayed her. Boone whined low, ears flicking toward the ceiling. Footsteps. Above them. Slow, dragging, deliberate. Claire's body went rigid. No one had been up there with her. She'd checked. She'd seen. And yet, the attic floorboards creaked again, weight shifting, moving toward the ladder. Boone barked, fierce, but the sound wavered. He was afraid. Claire backed down the hall, flashlight fixed on the ceiling. Then, sudden, the attic hatch slammed shut. The rope swung once, twice, before going still. Silence drowned the house. Claire's breath came shallow, each inhale scraping her throat. Her skin crawled. She wanted to run, to drag Boone out into the fog, and never look back. But duty chained her feet. She forced herself down the stairs, boots creaking on each step. Her radio hissed again, faint this time. Not words, just a whisper static. It almost sounded like breathing. Outside, the fog pressed thick around the farmhouse. Claire stood on the porch, chest heaving. Boone pressed tight to her leg. The night was too quiet. No crickets. No wind, just fog rolling low across the fields. She fumbled for her phone, hands trembling. No signal. Of course. Headlights bloomed suddenly on the road, slicing through the fog. Relief punched through her chest. Backup. Finally, the sheriff's cruiser crunched to a stop in the gravel. Briggs climbed out, heavy boots, broad shoulders in his black jacket. His face was unreadable in the beam of the headlights. Claire almost collapsed. Sheriff, thank God, there's a body in the attic. And something else. I swear there's something alive up there. The radio kept cutting. I couldn't. Briggs raised a hand. Calm. Too calm. Slow down, Dalton. Start over. His voice was steady, but his eyes didn't match. There was a flicker there, quick, sharp, like he already knew. Claire's words tangled. Her throat was raw. You don't understand. There's writing on the wall. Keep quiet or he hears. And Briggs cut her off. Show me. He didn't sound surprised. He sounded tired. Boone growled low and steady. Not at the house. At Briggs. Claire stared at her dog, stunned. Boone never growled at her own. Never. Briggs's eyes flicked to the K9, then back to her. His jaw tightened. Leash your dog, deputy, he said. It wasn't a request. Claire's blood ran cold. Boone's growl deepened. And in that moment, just for a breath, she realized the truth. Briggs didn't need her to show him anything. He already knew what was in that attic. Boone's growl rumbled like distant thunder. Claire's grip tightened on his harness, pulse slamming in her throat. Sheriff Briggs stood framed in his cruiser's headlights, one hand resting casually near his belt, eyes fixed on her as though weighing a decision. Dalton, he said, voice low, I told you to leash the dog. Claire's mouth was dry. Sheriff, why does Boone think you're the threat? The silence between them stretched, taut as wire. Boone barked once, sharp, teeth bared. Briggs sighed, not startled, not defensive, just weary, because he's not wrong. Claire's breath caught. The fog pressed closer, the farmhouse looming behind her like a listening witness. "What the hell does that mean?" she whispered. Briggs stepped closer, boots crunching gravel. His shadow swallowed hers. "It means I should have come out here myself years ago, before anyone got curious. But you," he glanced at Boone, "you brought the dog. And dogs don't lie." Claire's skin went cold. "You knew," she breathed, "about the body, about the door." His jaw ticked. "You think places like this keep secrets on their own? Someone has to bury them. Someone has to keep the town safe from what crawls out." The way he said safe twisted in her gut. Safe from who, Sheriff? Briggs didn't answer. He just looked at the house, like it had a hold on him. Boone barked again, breaking the moment. Briggs's eyes flicked back, hard now, calculating. "You're not going to understand Dalton, not unless you see it through." He nodded toward the house. "Come on. You're in it now. No walking away." Claire's body screamed to run. Every instinct, every shred of training, told her Briggs was dangerous. But Boone tugged forward, not away. Tore the house, tore the attic, and that was somehow worse. Inside, the air seemed thicker, harder to breathe. The boards groaned under their combined weight. Briggs moved with grim purpose, his flashlight steady, while Claire trailed behind, every step reluctant. "You ever wonder," he said quietly, "why no one ever bought this place? Why it just rotted here on the ridge?" Claire swallowed. "Because it's cursed?" she muttered. "Because," Briggs said, ignoring the bite in her tone, "people remember, even when they don't want to. This house took something from them, and they knew better than to try and take it back." They reached the attic hatch. Boone snarled, snapping at the rope. Briggs tugged it down. The ladder groaned open. "You first," he said. Claire stared. "You want me to—" "Dalton," he cut in, voice iron. "Either you climb, or I put you in cuffs and drag you up myself. Choice is yours." Her hand clenched around the crowbar still in her grip. One swing, she thought. One swing to the head, and she could drag Briggs back down the stairs. But Boone didn't move to attack him. The dog just stared at the ladder, ears trembling, like he knew what had to come next. So Claire climbed. The attic swallowed them whole. Dust swirled in her beam. The crawl space yawned open, the broken door gaping. The corpse sat just as she'd left it, knees hugged tight, jaw slack. Briggs didn't even flinch. He crouched low, hand brushing the wall above the body. His fingers traced the words, "Keep quiet or he hears." His face was unreadable. Claire whispered, "You put that there, didn't you?" Briggs didn't look at her. "No, that was her. The girl. The girl? She tried to warn us. Tried to stop it. Didn't work." Boone growled toward the far wall. The second seam, the other door. Briggs's eyes followed. His shoulders tensed. "Still here," he muttered, almost to himself. Claire's heart hammered. "What's behind there?" Briggs finally looked at her. His eyes were darker than she'd ever seen, worn and tired, but blazing with something that chilled her deeper than the corpse ever could. "Not what?" he said. "Who?" Then he shoved his crowbar into the seam and ripped it open. The second door cracked with a scream of wood. Cold air burst out, fouler than before, so sharp it clawed at their throats. Boone barked furiously, hackles high. The crawl space stretched farther than Claire expected, a narrow tunnel that sloped downward into blackness. And from the dark came a sound, a breath, not ragged, not weak, strong, slow, deliberate. Claire froze. Jesus Christ. Something shifted in the shadows, too large to make sense of. Limbs scraping, nails dragging. Briggs lifted his flashlight. The beam caught skin, pale, stretched taut over frame too long, too starved. A face half shrouded in hair. Eyes like black pits reflecting the light. The thing, no, the man, lurched forward, chains rattling around his wrists. He hissed, low and guttural, retreating from the light like it burned. Claire stumbled back. "What the hell is that?" Briggs's jaw tightened. "That is why I buried this house." The man shrieked, a sound that split the air, half animal, half human. He lunged, but the chains yanked him short, clanging against a rusted bolt in the dirt wall. Claire's blood-iced. You kept him here? Briggs didn't flinch. Not me. My father, and his father before him. The Talbot line, this thing is ours to keep. He doesn't die, Dalton. He just waits. You don't feed him, he feeds himself. The words struck like blows. Her gaze snapped to the corpse in the crawlspace. The girl in the nightgown. Her, Claire whispered. He fed on her. Briggs said nothing. Claire staggered back, while rising. You let this happen? You kept this thing alive? Briggs turned on her, fury flashing. You think the town would survive knowing what's under its skin? You think they'd live, knowing a monster walks among them? No, we keep it quiet. We keep it chained. And when it breaks, we bury the evidence. That's the deal. Boone barked, vicious, snapping at the crawlspace. The chain figure lunged again, eyes burning, teeth bared in a smile that wasn't human. Claire's hands shook around the crowbar. Help me seal it, Briggs ordered. We plaster it shut. No one ever knows. That's how you protect Marlow Ridge. Claire stared at him, at the corpse, at the writing on the wall. Keep quiet or he hears. Her stomach turned. You're not protecting them. You're feeding them to it. Briggs stepped closer, eyes hard. I've kept this town safe for 30 years. Now it's your turn. Decide. Claire lifted the crowbar, breath ragged. Briggs held her gaze. Steady. Leash your damn dog. And pick up that plaster bucket. The chain figure laughed then, wet, horrible, echoing off the beams. And something inside Claire broke. No, she whispered. The swing came fast. The crowbar cracked against Briggs's jaw, snapping his head sideways. He crashed against the floorboards, groaning, gun skidding free. Boone lunged, teeth flashing, forcing him back as Claire snatched the pistol. Briggs spat blood, eyes wild. You don't know what you've done. Claire aimed the gun at the crawlspace, at the chains, at the thing that smiled through rotted teeth. She fired. The bullet tore through its skull. But the smile didn't fade. It just laughed harder, chains rattling as it writhed in the dirt. Briggs roared. He doesn't die, Dalton. Don't you get it? He doesn't die. Boone barked furiously, straining against his harness. Claire's vision blurred with tears, bile fury. Another shot. Another. The laughter only grew. So she aimed lower, at the bolt. The shot sparked metal. Chains snapped loose. The creature surged forward. Briggs screamed. Boone lunged. Claire staggered back, light spinning wild across beams and dust. The attic erupted into chaos. By the time the gun clicked empty, the farmhouse was burning. Flames licked the beams, smoke choked in the air. Claire dragged Boone down the stairs, lungs searing, the screams of Briggs and the creature tangled behind her. She didn't look back. Outside, the fog glowed orange. The house collapsed inward with a groan, sparks raining into the night sky. Claire fell to her knees in the gravel. Boone pressed against her chest, both of them gasping. Sirens wailed faint in the distance. Too late. Always too late. Days later, the ridge was nothing but ash. The official report listed the cause as faulty wiring, house condemned. Sheriff Briggs was declared missing. No mention of the body. No mention of the hidden doors. No mention of the chain thing that laughed in the dark. Claire sat alone on her porch, Boone's head heavy in her lap. She stared at the ridge, smoke still curling faintly against the horizon. She should have felt relief, but the quiet was worse, because sometimes when the night was too still, she swore she could hear it. A breath, slow, strong, patient, waiting. Boone lifted his head, ears twitching toward the ridge. Claire closed her eyes, tears slipping hot down her face. And in the silence, she whispered, I won't keep quiet.